Hello there. I heard that you guys like some revenge stories here. Well, I have one for you, and it's about my mother-in-law, Nicole. I am Macy, and my husband is Adrian. We belong to a fairly middle-class family, so don't expect to see a lot of rich people preferences in my story. We had a humble life and were happy being together, the two of us. Nicole was always a problem because she never liked me much. She has a habit of asking my husband for things and gets mad when he denies giving her something. What also drives her mad is when my husband buys me something. So, when she saw that I had a new car, she absolutely freaked out and said, "Why on earth does Macy get a new car from you, Adrian?" "She's going back to college, Mom. It's important to have her own vehicle now. She definitely can't use mine." "She doesn't need a car. She can just take a bus like everyone else." Everyone in the camps actually has their own car or lives within walking distance away." "Why can't you walk then, Macy? It's no big deal." "My college is like an hour away from home, Nicole. I can't possibly walk that far every day." "You are just being lazy and finding excuses to get a new car. You can definitely take a bus or something, but you intentionally bought a car because you think you are above taking public transport, Macy."
"Mom, tell me the truth. What is this really about?"
"You didn't listen to me, Adrian. I should have got the car instead of your wife. I told you that the car is pretty old now, plus I needed a raise in the allowance you gave me. You should have given me the car and money instead of spending so much on your wife." Nicole and Adrian had a big fight, and my mother-in-law left our home in a huff. She rarely visited anyway, since she lived 8 hours away. She had some family in our city while one of her sisters lived near her. This was a pro for me because Nicole wasn't down our throats as frequently as she would have liked. She rarely came over due to the distance, but when she did, there was always some drama. Then again, she even starts drama over the phone, so you can say that she is an attention seeker and a drama queen. This incident about Adrian gifting me a car became a big problem later, but I hadn't realized that until it was too late. A month after this incident, Nicole offered to drive me to her house for Thanksgiving. We were supposed to celebrate Thanksgiving with her and her sister's family. My husband had gone to a different state for work and was supposed to fly to Nicole's city on the day before Thanksgiving. Nicole was leaving a day before because she needed to travel for 8 hours as she came with her car. Out of the blue, she offered to drive me to the destination with her and turn it into a road trip. She started saying that it would be so much fun and that she wouldn't have to drive alone. I was a little skeptical at first, but Adrian encouraged me to take up Nicole's offer. I guess he was hoping the road trip would turn into a bonding experience. I didn't want to make my husband sad, so I decided to give this a go. Well, that was a big mistake. We got off to a good start, and the first 4 hours actually went by fairly soon. We started out a little late because I had some work at home, so when we were halfway from our destination, it was almost 1 a.m. at night. I was genuinely having a good time until Nicole suddenly pulled over the side of the highway. There wasn't any store or gas station around where she pulled over. The place was empty. I was confused about why she had suddenly stopped the car. When I asked her, she turned to look at me with an irritated face and said, "Get out of the car right now, Macy." "Why? What's the matter? Why do I need to get out of the car, Nicole?" "I told you to get out of the car. Do as I say. Don't you dare talk back to me, Macy." Nicole was practically yelling at me. I did as my mother-in-law told me because she started to act really weird. I actually thought that maybe she had lost her marbles and was having a mental breakdown. in the middle of the road. I got out of the car and shut the door, and immediately Nicole locked them so that I couldn't get in. I visibly panicked and said, "What's going on, Nicole? Why did you tell me to get out of the car? You even locked the door." "I am not taking you with me. I changed my mind." "I won't be taking you with me or having you in my house for Thanksgiving. You need to go back home." "What? What are you saying, Nicole? You can't just drop me here and leave out of the blue. I have no way to go home." "Then find a way, Macy. This will teach you a lesson for being such a princess. You need to find your way home like the adult you are." "What is wrong with you, Nicole? You can't just drop me off in the middle of the highway at 1 a.m. in the night. This is insane." "Well, this is my car, so it is my car and I will do what I want. Your fancy little car is of no help now, is it?" It suddenly struck me that Nicole hadn't actually gone mad in the middle of the road. She didn't lose her mind in the way I thought she had. No, she had done this with a clear mind. And she had clearly planned this entire thing from the beginning. Maybe she had offered to drive me to her place because she wanted to do this. I was caught in a trap that I didn't even see coming. I was in shock and decided to confront her, saying, "You planned this, didn't you, Nicole? You planned this because you couldn't accept that my husband bought me a new car. You did this all for some jealousy." "How dare you call me jealous? I have nothing to be jealous about a woman like you. You are acting so high and mighty because you have a new car now. Well, guess what, dear daughter-in-law? It will be of no help to you now. It can't even come and get you from the middle of the highway." "Yes, exactly, Nicole. The car can't come and pick me up, and my husband is in another state entirely. I cannot go home like this, Nicole. You need to drop me home even if you don't want to take me to your house." I was practically begging my mother-in-law at this point. Yes, there were a lot of cars on the highway, but I also know what happens to hitchhikers when they come across the wrong people. Did I mention that it was 1 a.m. at night? This was a recipe for disaster, and no one in their right mind would do this to someone. But my mother-in-law was built differently. She absolutely had to teach me a lesson because she couldn't stand the fact that I have a car and she doesn't. I was mad at her, but decided to forego my anger for a moment and beg Nicole to take me home. But she laughed at me and said, "You think I will drop you home, which is like 4 hours away? Oh, hell no, Macy. You need to find your own way back." "But how will I go back, Nicole?" "I don't know, Macy. Maybe take a bus like you should have in the first place. That'll teach you to be humble and live like the rest of us." "You are being delusional right now, Nicole. It is not safe for you to leave me in the middle of the road with no way back." "Tell that to someone who cares, Macy. You think you are such a big shot because you're going to college. Well, use that intelligent brain of yours and find a way back. I am going home and I don't care what happens to you. Don't try to call me because I won't pick up. My battery is about to die anyway." Nicole said that to me and just left. Yes, my mother-in-law actually left in her car while I stood on the side of the road looking absolutely dumbfounded. She drove off happily and even told me not to contact her. I was just baffled by what she had done. I stood at the side of the road for a good half hour, trying to figure out what I should do. I must admit that I was also hoping that Nicole would realize that she shouldn't have done this and come back for me after tormenting me for a while. Well, I had no such luck. The mad woman was actually serious about what she did and wasn't going to come back and rescue me from the road. I didn't call my husband straight away because he was in another state and I didn't want him to freak out when I knew he couldn't do anything. So I waited and tried to get a cab, but I had no such luck with a cab either. The network was choppy and I couldn't get a signal to find a cab or even make a call. After like 45 minutes, I really started to get worried. Too many cars and trucks passed by me and the drivers were eyeing me suspiciously. I was feeling extremely unsafe and scared for my life. When I thought that I was going to lose my mind, a cop car pulled up. It was actually highway patrol and 2 nice officers were in the car. I explained my situation to them and I actually cried out of fear. I said, "I don't know what to do now, officers."
Why don't you go to the nearest train station? Taking a bus or hitchhiking a ride this late wouldn't be a good idea. A train would be safer since a lot of people are coming back from Thanksgiving fairs around. I think it would be the best option.
Can I get a direct train to my home from the train station?
No, but you can get a train to where your mother-in-law stays. If you have any family members around that area, you can always stay with them for the night.
Actually, I think that's a great idea, but how do I even get there? Will I get a bus?
I don't think so, miss. Catching a bus this late might be a problem, but we can drop you off at the train station if you want.
That would be perfect, officers. Thank you so much for your help. I got in the police car and the cops took me to the nearest train station, which was only 15 minutes by road. When I reached the station, I was surprised to see a good number of people waiting to board the trains. It was way safer than being stuck in the middle of the highway with no signal on my phone and no way to get back home. Once the cops dropped me off, I thanked them profusely and they went about their way. I will never forget their help because they were like God sent on that day. I was really freaking out on the side of the highway and scared for my life when the 2 cops came and helped me. While I was at the train station waiting for my train, I thought about a lot of things. I was super angry that my mother-in-law had done something so stupid and horrible to me. I couldn't actually believe that she would do something like this to anyone, let alone her own daughter-in-law. I know she hated me, but seriously? Who leaves a woman alone on the highway so late at night? I was really shocked, and slowly, when my mind settled a bit, I was overcome with anger. I had initially thought about going to Adrian's aunt that night. I would have stayed there and then left the very next day, but I was boiling with anger and didn't want to leave so silently. I wanted to do something to show Nicole what it feels like to be in my position. I noticed that by train I would be able to reach her house before her. Boy, I had forgotten how convenient trains were. I would be there at Nicole's place in an hour. That meant Nicole wouldn't be home when I got to her house. So I had a chance to actually get into her house before her. I thought of a plan and then set my mind that I was going to do it. I boarded the train, reached my destination, went to Nicole's house, and got into the place before she could come home. How did I get in? She had stupidly told me and Adrian where she hid her spare keys. I found them right where she told me I would find it. I tried to call Nicole and see where she was, but as predicted, her phone had gotten switched off because it was an extremely low charge. This gave me the perfect setting to do what I wanted to do. So I got into the house, locked the doors, and went to sleep. You can see where this is going, guys. Yes, I locked Nicole out. When she got home, she must have realized what happened. She couldn't get into the house, and I didn't respond to her banging on the door. She couldn't call me or anyone because her phone had died and it was 4:15 a.m., so it's not like she could just wake her neighbors for help. So she had to sit on her front porch for the rest of the night and was only able to come inside when I woke up and went out to get some fresh air. The look on Nicole's face when I opened the door was priceless. It was already past 7 a.m., so she had been sitting out in the cold for at least 3 hours. When I finally opened the door, she started to scream at me and said, "What are you doing here? Didn't I tell you to go back home?" Well, I didn't find any means of transport to go home, but I did take a train here. 2 kind officers drove me to the train station. They had some not so nice things to say for you, though. Who told you to come back? This is my house, and how dare you lock me out of my own house? Oh, pardon me, Nicole. I really forgot that I had put the hatch bolt in. I shouldn't have done that, I guess. How did you even get into my house? You told me and Adrian where you left your spare keys. That isn't a smart thing to do, Nicole. How dare you do this to me, Macy? I was locked out of my home for 3 hours in this cold. How could you do this? I will get to the bottom of this, Macy. Just wait for my son to come home. Nicole hurried to her room because she was already very cold and tired from the drive. Taking an 8-hour drive and then coming home to a locked door was a tough thing to get through. Nicole was suffering because of it, and I didn't even care. I was happy that she got to experience a little bit of what I did for almost 1 hour on the highway. She could have gotten me killed. At least I taught her a lesson in a safe space where she knew the people around, and her own sister lived a block away. I wasn't as heartless as her, at least. Anyway, Nicole didn't have the energy to throw me out at that time, so I happily went about my way, taking a stroll in the garden, waiting for my husband to come home. I guess Nicole was waiting for Adrian to come home too. Adrian came home and was super happy to see me. We hugged only for a few seconds before my mother-in-law came storming towards us. She started to cry out of the blue and said to my husband, "Thank God you're home, Adrian. I really needed you."
What's the matter, Mom? Why are you crying?
Your wife is the reason I'm crying, Adrian.
My wife? What are you talking about, Mom? What did Macy do?
She got into my house before me and locked me out of my house, Adrian. I was in the cold for 3 hours before she opened the door.
What? What are you saying, Mom? Macy, why did you lock my mother out?
I arrived home before her and went to bed. I didn't hear her knocking, and she didn't call me either. I guess I was in a deep sleep.
Wait a second. Why did you say that you had arrived before my mom? Didn't you two drive here together?
When my husband asked that very obvious question, Nicole went still for a while. She knew very well that Adrian would not be happy to hear what she did to me. So she became a little nervous and stopped crying for a few seconds. Then, after that, she cried even louder, probably to show that she was a bigger victim than me. I smirked at her and said, "Would you like to answer that, Nicole? After all, it was your fault that I got here faster than you."
What are you saying, Macy? Please tell me what's going on.
I will tell you what's going on, Adrian. Your wife has been horrible to me, so I told her to go home, and that I wasn't taking her with me. And why did you leave out the part that you dropped me off in the middle of the highway at 1 a.m.?
What? Mom, did you really do this?
She did do this, Adrian. She did it because she wanted to teach me a lesson for getting a car when I was perfectly capable of walking to college or taking a bus.
Are you still going on about this, Mom? And you decided that teaching my wife a lesson like that would be a good idea?
Well, she had it coming for being such a snob about taking the bus to college. I simply wanted to show them that it's not such a bad thing. Nicole tried to play it cool because my husband was pissed. He started to raise his voice and was in disbelief that his mom would be so careless and plain evil. He yelled at her, and instead of accepting her mistake, Nicole tried to make it seem like it wasn't a big deal. Well, that rightfully set off my husband, and he said, "What is wrong with you, Mom? How could you do this to my wife? You left her at an extremely unsafe place when I trusted you to take her home. What if something had happened to her?" "She's fine, Adrian. Nothing happened to her. She was only there for an hour before some cops dropped her at the station. You should be more worried about me because I was out in the cold longer than her."
You were just making this worse, Mom. Something could have easily happened to my wife, and she wouldn't even be able to call for help. God knows what she would have done if the cops hadn't arrived. As for you, Mom, Your sister lives like a block away. You could have just gone to her house. How can you compare a highway to your own neighborhood?
Okay, fine. Maybe it was a bad idea, but Macy is okay, so everything is good.
No, everything is not good, Mom. I will not ignore what you have tried to do to my wife. Do you really think that I will let this go so easily, Mom?
Well, what do you want me to do?
First of all, I would like you to apologize to her because of what you did.
What? Fine, I'm sorry, Macy.
I don't want your apology, Nicole. You put me in an unsafe situation because I got a new car, but you didn't. Your childhood tantrum could have landed me in big trouble. After today, I don't want any contact with you anymore. I agree with my wife, Macy. I think we should both limit contact with you for a while. In fact, we won't stay for Thanksgiving here. I won't be thanking you for leaving my wife stranded on the highway. That's not going to happen. Nicole started to freak out when my husband mentioned having no contact with her for a while. She was crying and telling us that we were overreacting and everything was fine. She didn't even care to plead her case about me locking her out. She realized that it was nothing compared to what she had done to me. Adrian was too angry to even listen to his stupid mother and kept telling her that she had gone too far. After a lot of back and forth, Adrian and I left and went to his aunt's place instead. I told his aunt the whole story, and she was equally horrified as my dear husband. She told us that we could definitely stay with her family for Thanksgiving, and they wouldn't be inviting Nicole because of her actions. So Nicole's sister uninvited her, for which she threw another tantrum. She even showed up to her door to try and negotiate. Well, it didn't help her case. So Nicole tried to teach me a lesson, but it ended up backfiring in a huge way. Not only did I lock her out of her own home, but also told everyone what she had done to me. No one actually sided with her and told her that they were disappointed with her. Adrian was firm in his words that he wasn't going to be in touch with her for a while. I was glad about that, because I didn't want to deal with Nicole after that day either. Anyway, it's been a long time since Thanksgiving, and I am writing this from the comfort of my home now. My husband and I are having a great time without Nicole creating drama, and it looks like we will be making the low contact with Nicole a permanent thing from now on.